I had my first shift into spiritual awakening really at 13 years old. And that was when I realized in front of my mentally ill, very abusive stepfather that, oh my God, this epiphany that this has nothing to do with me. The way he treated me, the abuse, everything that he projected onto me were his programs. They were not personal to me. So when you learn to stop taking things personal, even when it feels like it can't be anything but personal, you're ready to truly heal and awaken. And so that was 13 years old. So that led me on a path where I really pursued education, and I pursued the increasing my level of awareness to how I could be so screwed up. I thought to myself going to college, there's no way I am not completely fucked up from this experience and so many years of abuse. I have to be.
Yeah.
And on the outside, you would never think it or guess it. I was a college athlete. I did very well in school. I had a ton of friends. I was all that nonsense that we think is so important. But I knew deep down inside, there's no way this didn't damage me in some way. And so it was a vow to myself that I was going to discover every single way I was fucked up, and I was going to heal that within myself. That was my mission. That started my mission to lead me to what I do for others today.
Some of the things you say remind me of Matt Kahn. Are you familiar with Matt Kahn?
No.
Oh, I think you would love him. He's got a book called Loving What Is, and another one, but he's a spiritual teacher as well. He's on Gaia, but he's some of the things you say are the same things that he says. And so I was just curious if you knew who he was, but you'd find him an interesting cat. So how long has it taken you, and where have you gotten to in your process?
I've gotten pretty far.
Yeah, I can tell.
I've gotten pretty far, I have to say, although you're never done. That's important to understand. But yeah, I pursued a way to heal and elevate people, first through education, but I also gradually went much deeper into my own transformational healing and spiritual awakening.
What are some of the methods you've used?
Well, traditionally, when I worked as an occupational therapist, I specialized in mental, emotional, and behavioral health. And I really pursued healing initially through, Western medicine. So I quickly found out how I did not agree with a lot of the methods of Western medicine. Beautiful for emergencies.
Yes.
So glad we have it for emergencies.
Yes. Yeah.
But when it comes to holistic health and healing, we have a long way to go, although things have been changing. But
not much.
Yeah, not that much. Because I was always told, sick people make us money, Rachel. So you have to stop all this.
Yeah.
We can't have the program you want to create. We can't do the teaching because sick people make us money. So I got to a place where, as I was still doing therapy, I was coaching also simultaneously. Back, I was doing both of those things together.
Life coaching, you mean?
Yeah. Yep. I was doing that as well. But what got me very curious about people was to observe the ability for them to heal or not to heal.
Yes,
and
that's
why.
the real issue, isn't it?
Yeah. And I also, being a healer myself, I was able to witness certain people with hands-on energy healing, barely be able to walk, be in excruciating pain, have a hip almost completely locked and unable to get out of bed, to 10 minutes of energy healing, be able to get up and actually walk out of the room first time in months. And when I witnessed things like this, I also then witnessed that same person who, couldn't speak much English, but was just no pain,
Yeah.
and just got up and walked.
Yeah.
And the daughter was like, oh my God, what just happened? And everybody's excited. And then, the next time I went back, which was a week later, why are you in bed not walking around? And it's how we recreate our illnesses. We recreate our wounds, our things over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That sent me on the journey to go much deeper into why, how we sabotage healing and how we always look outside of ourselves to heal.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. I'm glad you shared that. But what I was really asking is, what are some of the approaches to your own healing that you've used?
Yeah. All of the approaches that are out there, and I wondered why the fuck they didn't work.
So what ultimately did work?
The programs that I offer today.
Okay, yeah. Well, give me an example.
Yeah,
of
I can explain
what's something that you use today in your life, or you have used successfully, that you say, this is an approach that actually is viable.
Yeah. So It's understanding, moving through a process of getting very deeply connected to our true power, getting connected to what that actually means. Most people function from force, and we want to function from power because that's an elevated way to function.
Can you distinguish the two?
Yeah, absolutely. Not easy for people who haven't yet connected to power to understand using language.
Yes.
It is an experience. So when you learn what it feels like, what it is to identify all aspects of you that make up your shadow self, your ego, for example, you learn those 4 quadrants, which are mental programs, emotional programs, behavioral programs, and inner child wounds. And those are the things we're running all the time. They run on autopilot. So to shift, and that's using force, that's using your patterns of fear and victimhood and all of those things. So you learn how to shift from that by identifying them and then connecting to your source of power, which is in your heart center.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like what you're calling the source of power is what I call soul.
It is. It is. It absolutely is the connection to your divinity, to your soul, to your higher self.
And, soul cannot be separate from spirit. Power is more aligned with spirit. Soul's more aligned with the heart or the feeling nature. So I'm just trying to make sure everyone knows what you mean when you say power. Force, I think most of us know it means making things happen that maybe shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Or that doing things repeatedly that didn't work the last 100 times.
Yeah. Trying to control. Trying to force it to happen.
Yes.
Instead of being open, receptive, and allowing things to synchronize.
You mean like forcing your partner to have sex with you when they're tired?
Yeah, that's one of them. That absolutely is. It's one of them. It's the expectation that they should have sex with you, first of all. And we lack the honoring of it's an honor that my partner chooses to have sex with me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's power.
Yeah, great. Yes. I'm just trying to make sure everyone really understands what you're saying, because though I feel I understood you as we go through our conversation, I think it's important for people to understand what Rachel's really saying, or they might come to the wrong conclusion in their head and realize they just never understood you. I think all that's good stuff. So is there a particular approach, certain types of meditations, or I use a whole arsenal of tools. One, because it's my job as a therapist to explore these things, to learn how they work, and then have enough knowledge of different approaches to say, okay, this personality here is going to do best with this approach. So I'm just curious, is there something that you say, well, if there's a technique or two that I really got a lot of mileage out of, is there something you can share like that?
So the first thing is learning how to drop in and authentically connect to your heart chakra, your heart center. When you do that, you can grow that energy. When you choose to stay connected there and then do healing and then use coping mechanisms or strategies or tools and then. So that's the most powerful thing that we can do, is learn what that means and how to actually connect to our heart center, grow that energy, and then choose to work on our projects or achieve a goal or heal something, right? So we try to heal things through tools. And what most people don't understand when they're learning a million tools is that they are just that. They're tools, they're supportive tools. So if you learn breathing techniques, you connect to heart center first, you grow that energy, the light that is you. That's your higher soul. That's the connection to source, to your higher soul, whatever language you want to use. And then you use a supportive tool. The supportive tool is going to be more effective because you've chosen to connect to your inner power first. Exactly. So that's part of learning how to do that. Instead of, oh, I have anxiety, I'm going to use this tool, that tool, or coping mechanism, or pop a pill in order to calm my system down. Well, that's not empowerment, actually.
No, it's just, it's not addressing the issue that's driving the behavior or the experience. It's just, it's like the old saying, it's like putting a piece of tape over your oil light and pretending that your car doesn't need oil. Now, one of the things you're saying, because I have a lot of experience with these things, there's a lot of people that have to do actually healing work to get to their heart because their heart is so wounded. So do you find sometimes you have to do some healing work in order to get a person to be able to really bring their consciousness into their heart?
That's a great question. So in the Mystical Life Certification Program, in the programs we offer at Masters of Self University, you do it simultaneously.
Yeah, good.
There's no first, it's what you're doing, you're integrating these things simultaneously. So you bring up a very good point. Some people don't want to go anywhere near their heart center, and they don't realize that necessarily.
And you know who I found to be the ones that don't want to go near their heart center the most? People that have heart pathology.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People that have heart disease. I've worked with many of them in my
Yes.
career, and they are the ones that are the most resistant to actually looking at the issues that I read and see and pick up from my paperwork and their life experience. They'll do all the exercises, they'll change their diet, but when it comes to actually dealing with where maybe their pain is their own shame of what they did to others, or where they're not forgiving somebody, then that's like a vault.
Exactly. And those are examples, what you just said, those are examples of the programs someone runs. So if you carry shame programs, what you learn in this work, well, what programs am I running? And it's just a question out of curiosity. I'm willing to see what programs I'm running. This is going to show me how I am actually showing up in the world, in life, in my relationship, versus how I like to think I'm showing up.
You know, when you look at the combined total of consciousness within any human being, the ego, depending on what study you read, is only 3 to 7% of our consciousness. So it's like a giant iceberg with just a little tip. But most people actually think that the part of themselves that they think they know, which is the part sticking out of the water, is who they are.
Yes.
And that's also why relationships are so critical, because if we were all alone on a desert island, we would never really grow spiritually. We wouldn't grow consciously. We would be more like an animal. And what I mean by that is that we wouldn't have anybody to see the parts of ourselves that we can't see.
Exactly.
Because we have to have somebody with a different perspective than ours, or we never know whether we're bullshitting ourselves. So it's an interesting process that requires relationship for healing and for awareness of where our shadow is. And you know, I always tell, because one of the things people ask me all the time is, how do I find my soulmate? And I say, well, the first thing you do is you understand what that means, because your soulmate is the one person in the world that will tell you when you're bullshitting yourself. And if you're not ready for a level of love that comes with significant honesty, then your soulmate might be the first person you get a divorce from, only later to realize who you got a divorce from. And then you'll really be in pain, because by then they probably will have been remarried.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And here's the beautiful part is we live in a world, we're in the earth school. You know, we're a divine soul having a human experience, and we're on the earth school for our souls to grow. And while we're here, you know, the people, places, situations that we encounter or have our experiences with, they're there to show us the aspects of us that are in our blind spot that we don't realize. Through this work, although that still remains to be true, through this work, you learn to have that symbiotic relationship with yourself. You learn to see what is in your blind spots. You learn to see what is there so that you can love it and heal it. Instead of it having to be part of your dark self and the part that we don't want to see, we bring that part to the light so it no longer has to be a part of who you are.
Yeah, you know, the thing too is people don't realize that that's the stuff that's actually controlling them. A lot of people think that if something's unconscious, most people don't even really know what that means. But there are plenty of people out there that think, if it's not in my awareness, then it's not doing anything. In other words...
And yet, the iceberg...
Yes, is the big
what's
part.
In your blind spot is doing everything.
Well,
everything.
You know, it's like driving a car. There's a lot more of your car that you can't see than you can when you're driving your car, right?
Yeah,
you're seeing the hood and side of your car through your rearview mirrors, but really everybody else can see the part of your car that you missed when you just washed it. You can't.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.